Tribute to Conway Twitty featuring Bobby Simpkins is this Saturday, July 27th at 7 p.m. at the Watch Your Opera House. Bobby Simpkins is an award-winning tribute artist who has performed all over the country, including Nashville. Bobby now lives in Kansas City and is coming to Watch Your this Saturday night at 7 p.m. If you like classic country music, this night is for you. A tribute to Conway Twitty featuring Bobby Simpkins this Saturday, July 27th, 7 p.m. at the Watch Your Opera House. Tickets are $30 and can be purchased at watchyyouroperahouse.org or at the door. The Union Mills Community Closet presents Christmas in July fundraiser dinner, July 27th, starting at 5 p.m. at Bradbury Hall, Nelson Pioneer Farm, Oskaloosa, serving a catered dinner of chicken cordon bleu or savory sliced beef. Call 641-200-1940 or look for Union Mills Community Closet on Facebook to purchase your tickets. Tickets are $30 or $240 to reserve an entire table. All proceeds directly benefit Union Mills Community Christmas Toy Drive. It's the Christmas in July fundraiser dinner, July 27th at Bradbury Hall, Nelson Pioneer Farm. The Delta Fireman's Ball is Saturday, July 27th. You can enjoy food, live music, games, and more. There will be a poker run from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Keith Davis will be playing music from 6 to 9 p.m. For more information on the Delta Fireman's Ball, contact Jim or Fake Harry at 319-212-8772. The Delta Fireman's Ball is coming up Saturday, July 27th. Don't miss it.
And now, your hosts of the Card Subject to Change podcast, the For Frequency's Sake Tag Team Champions of the World, the Wizard CZ, and never wrong, Nick Bull.
Hello, one and all. Welcome back to another exciting edition of the Card Subject to Change podcast, the podcast by the fan, for the fan. Of course, I am your host, never wrong, Nick Bull. Joining me is my co-host, the co-champ of the For Frequency's Sake Network, tag team champion, the Wizard CZ. Wiz, how you doing?
Man, I got to be a horseman for a couple minutes this weekend, so I'm feeling pretty damn good.
Good. It's very important that we talk about this chance that we are the co-champs of the For Frequency's Sake Network. This next interview, of course, is a non-title match. There's no way we're putting up the belts right now against our guest today, for sure. This is a non-title match, so we'll be walking out with our titles today for sure, right, CZ?
Absolutely. We're not giving those belts away this time.
No, not this time, especially with our guest today. He is one half of the tag team known as The Hype. We, of course, have experienced him firsthand by watching some Dreamwave shows together. But we are happy to have in studio today the one, the only Hunter Holdcraft. Hunter, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you guys doing today?
I'm doing great. He's repping Dreamwave, man. I love that hat, too. That is a slick-looking hat.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, thanks for coming on the show. We really appreciate you. We've been wanting to get you on here for quite some time and talk wrestling with you. And we'll start off the show like we do most others. I asked every wrestler the same question. I'm going to ask you the same question. What got you into wrestling? Why pro wrestling?
Why pro wrestling? I just remember being a kid. I've had family that watched wrestling, so I just kind of grew up around it. So it just seemed kind of normal. I talked to people outside, and they're like, "Oh, professional wrestling," and I'm like, "Yeah, professional wrestling. It's just like another part of my life, you know. It's really just not. I don't know my life without it, to be honest with you. So why? Well, it's just ingrained in my DNA at this point. That's what it is."
That's excellent to hear. I love hearing that. You're a lifer. You're a lifer like the rest of us, I guess, then, right?
Oh, yeah.
Was there a polarizing moment you can remember that, like, wow, this is something I really love and want to pursue? Like, is there something that really trips a memory in your brain if you look back at it?
Looking back at it, I think when I was a kid, I'm only 23, so like my knowledge of wrestling only goes so far back.
Sure,
But all
sure.
that I remember from watching wrestling, I mean, just seeing the larger in life individuals, being a role model for people or for kids, pretty much. Like my number one guy for the longest time was John Cena. I mean, I know that sounds kind of vanilla, uh, but like he was the most larger in life guy. He overcame every obstacle that came through him. Motivated individuals around him. Just was a big influence on the type of personality that I want to be inside the ring and even outside the ring in real life, to be honest with you. So that was probably one of the biggest things. So just him in general, like the aura that he brought and who he was and the personality and what he taught people, not just, like I said, not just in the ring, but what you can do outside of it as well.
So, talking about John Cena, is there a favorite moment or match of his that you really gravitate towards, that you can go back and watch it over and over again?
I mean, there's a couple of them. I think the one match, even though like he never came out on top of, but how he kind of carried himself before and after was Money in the Bank 2011 against CM Punk.
Yes.
I mean, that's a very, like, everyone talks about that match even to this day, especially when Punk came back to WWE not too long ago. Everyone talks about it, the pipe bomb, this, that, and the other. But I think I always looked, because John Cena was my guy. So I always looked at how he carried himself through those times, like how he conveyed himself to the crowd. And he just kind of stayed the same guy, no matter if they were against him in Chicago, he stayed the same guy. Afterwards, when CM Punk left, he stayed the same guy. Just no matter what was thrown at him or when people turn against him, like he just kept his head straight and just kept his eye on the prize, and that was just getting the WWE Championship again. So like I think that was a really big defining moment, even though no one looks at him during that time. Everyone looks at CM Punk during that time. It's how he carried himself after that.
Hunter, it's great that you mentioned that. John Cena had an incredible run during that time. I think, you shed a light on something. Like, everybody focuses on Punk and that pipe bomb in that match, but really, Cena held up his end of the bargain too to make that rivalry, feud, match, whatever you want to call it, as special as it was.
Yeah.
He was a part of several of those during that time. Like, Cena was such a constant for such a long time, and I think we don't give him enough. People today give him enough credit for the run that he had and what he did for the time that he did.
And I mean, during the time, like right now, like he just announced his last year, so like everyone's going back and looking back at it and being like, okay, what has he done other than the 16-time world title reigns, this, that. That was one thing that stood out to me. But no one really talks about how he was just very consistent with being a role model. I'll keep going back to being a role model because that's what I want to be. If I learned anything from watching wrestling as a kid, it's like he was a big role model for me. So I want to be a big role model for others. That's kind of that's how I look at it now.
So on that role, you're only a few years into the business. Let me ask this first. Who, as you were coming into being a professional wrestler, who was your role model? Like that you actually worked with? Who was your role model in the business as you're coming in?
Man. I mean, my 2-year mark's coming up here soon, so I haven't really been in here for very long. I just remember when I was first training, it was Christian Rose and Mike Hartenbauer were two guys that kind of took me under their wing and actually taught me the ropes, to be honest with you. And I mean, they would take time out of their day to teach me things, either they were inside the ropes or even just things about the business itself and outside the ropes too. Those are two guys that I looked up to and still do to this day when it comes to looking for advice on matches, how I should carry myself. And like, if I'm trying to convey a message, like those are the two guys that I would love to go to and ask those questions.
You talk about only being in the business for just 2 years, Hunter Holdcraft, but you seem leaps and bounds ahead of that? Is that from listening to guys like this? Is it from having natural ability? What would you say to people who would say, man, you look like you've been in this longer than 2 years?
I really appreciate that. To be honest, it's not the first time I heard that. And I'm always in denial when I hear that, because confidence is one of those things that, being a professional wrestler, you have to have confidence, because if you don't have confidence, you can't be safe with others, or just like you seem kind of off. But so I always stress about if I did it right, if I do everything perfect. I'm kind of like what they call like a student of the game. Like everything that I do, I want to be the best at it. I want to be perfect. If everything's not perfect, then I kind of beat myself up about it. Sure. But I think the one thing with professional wrestling that people that get into it, I have a really extensive amateur wrestling background. So like footwork and getting off the ground and lifting people and suplexing people, like that's second nature to me. The part that I have been working on for the past year or so has been the charisma, like taking my moments, taking my time, engaging with the crowd, things like that. So I think what makes people think that I am leaps and bounds ahead of 2 years of experience is just having the natural ability of kind of a ring awareness. I think ring awareness and the visuals that I give off and the being able to do moves, like that's half the battle. The other half of the battle is trying to connect with the crowd. And that's the part that, like I said before, that's the part that I have been focusing on. And I'm still trying to get that part down. But like I said, I'm a perfectionist, so I'll probably never be perfect, but I think I'm almost there.
We're talking with Hunter Holdcraft here on the Card Subject to Change podcast, the podcast by the fan for the fan. We are powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo, and protected by Jared Zook of Country Financial. Let's tap into that amateur wrestling background. How much of a head start, per se, has it given you in these 2 years that you have of professional wrestling experience? You talk about the amateur wrestling background. You can see it in your matches, your presentation, how you move, but talk about just really how much that has helped you. Maybe, get ahead thus far by leaps and bounds.
I think, I did amateur wrestling since I was 7 years old. So I'm 23 now. I'm going to be 24 here soon. So
hey, you're a 16-year vet when it comes to that. There's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly. But I think how that sets like footwork and knowing how to control my own body. That's probably, like I said, that's probably one of the biggest things when you're doing a match in the ring, is knowing where you are, knowing how to control your body. I've been doing push-ups since I was 10 years old. So it's like, I know how to control my own body. Now it's just trying to control others. And granted, that's what amateur wrestling is, knowing how to control someone else's body and manipulate it into a way that favors whatever outcome you want. So I think having that and being able to control someone else's body, so to do moves pretty much. And what also helped me with that too is my persona, I should say, is the amateur wrestler trying to figure out how to do professional wrestling. So I kind of just took like my lack of experience and have turned it into something that works. So yes. Like when I do a double leg takedown, not a lot of people do a double leg takedown in indie wrestling right now, or like do like 3 or 4 roll-ups at a time trying to get a quick pin. Like that's amateur wrestling stuff, and not a lot of people do that. So like that sets me apart from a lot of people that are in those shows. So I think it's just, I bring something different to the table, and everyone likes something different every single match. So I think if I get better at that, as well as getting better at the other things that people can constitute as professional wrestling. So like more of like the typical grapple and strikes, big moves, like kicks, stuff like that. Like I'll get that later on, but if I stick to what I know now and then make it a little bit extra than what it would be in an amateur wrestling match, like I think I've been doing a pretty good job at that.